Hello again, and welcome to the Master's Voice. I am Celestial, and you are welcome to this channel. To old and new subscribers alike, you are very welcome. The Master's Voice is an audio and a visual resource, meaning that you can follow along here on video on YouTube. You can follow the Spanish channel that is called Canal Profético La Voz del Señor, also here on YouTube. There are multiple channels that are on Rumble, BitChute, and Brighteon. Those are alternate viewing sites, and there you can get a more comprehensive look at prophecies of the Master's Voice, and some prophecies that I can no longer host here on YouTube because of their policies against talking about certain things. You can find those things. It's mostly what they call medical misinformation, so to speak. Those prophecies on COVID and the vaccines and things like that, you can find them on my alternate platforms. If you're listening by audio, SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and so many other types of podcasts that are naturally streaming the Master's Voice Prophecy blog, there you can hear all the prophecies, including those from 2020, 2021 that can no longer be found here. And so the prophecy that I'm going to give now, the Lord gave it to me on March the 4th. And right now, today is March the 6th. It's early morning, March the 6th. So this prophecy is only about a day or 2 days old. And normally I could keep a prophecy longer, but the Lord is saying that this message has to go out because this message is less about the subject or the person who will be spoken about in this message. This message is less about the subject, because the subject has already been given over to judgment. The subject does not want to change. The subject does not want to stop what they're doing. The subject does not want to change their ways. This message is more of a warning to those who are following this person, to those who do not want to turn, to those who do not want to listen, to those who, when you hear what the Lord will describe in this dream, what the Lord is showing me in this dream, you will only get hardened with the warning of prophecy. And that is a very dangerous place to be. And so the title of this message is March the 4th, 2024. And the title is Beyonce is going to fall. Beyonce is going to fall. I know all her fans are already screaming and going off and frustrated, and yet you should be frustrated. And the person you should be frustrated with is yourself. You should be frustrated with yourself for being so in love with deception. You should be frustrated with yourself because you don't actually know how to discern what is good for you and what is not good for you. You should be frustrated with yourself because you lack wise judgment, because you are making foolish choices that God is going to judge you for. And it doesn't matter if you are an 11-year-old when you hear this. It doesn't matter if you're 31 years old when you hear this. It doesn't matter if you're one of the older ladies who just, oh no, I just love her. She's just got a certain something. It doesn't matter how long you've been following Beyonce. When you hear this, you should know, and you must be told, and you have to have it said in your ears that if you continue following this woman, God is going to judge you for it. He is going to put this on your permanent record, your report card, that you were warned for a series of years. You were warned in 2022. You were warned in 2023. And to my surprise, here we are in 2024, and you are still being warned. And before you can even hear the prophecy, you are already upset. You are already starting your usual drivel of, oh, she just hates her, and you just wish that you could be her. And why is it always black celebrities? Listen to your level of thinking. Who told you that this is a black celebrity, white celebrity prophecy? Why is the general thinking level so dull? But let's hear what the Lord revealed. So I wrote this down like a journal, and I'm just going to read generally from here. So it should be easy enough to follow along. So I had this dream. This morning I dreamt about Beyonce. This is March the 4th when I had the dream. And I dreamt that something had happened to her that was such big news, that all the newspaper and all the syndicated news channels, this means the very, very big news channels that are all, part of the larger network, they were all carrying it as a lead story. So something had happened, and it was everywhere. This was big, big news, breaking news. And the way that the news was doing it, you know how they love a juicy story. They were hyping it up so that it was an overtaking story. You know how they would have maybe a little bit of a story and then they would say something like, we're going to stay with this story and we're going to bring you developments as they happen. And the news just does this to bait people, to keep their numbers up so that they can steal members from their rival networks and things like that. But there's no need to steal anybody from everybody, because every single news channel in the country was covering whatever this was. And so I saw myself. I had this dream multiple times, by the way, which is how every wise Christian who knows the story of Joseph knows that that's how God establishes that he's going to do something. When the Lord is communicating something to you through a dream, you see the dream twice, 3 times. You see the dream 5, 6 times over a very rapid period, depending on how frequently you see it and how short the period is. God is telling you, I'm going to do this very soon. But then some people could see it over a time and he's still telling you the same thing, that this thing is scheduled. And so this breaking news story was being teased out. It was being stretched out as the biggest thing going on in America. And that's because you know that Beyonce will always command the headlines. She will always command the interest, no matter where she goes or what she does. It's always good for public numbers. And so I'm walking down the street in the first dream, and then all of a sudden a newspaper just appeared in my hand. Okay, so I was in Manhattan when this newspaper just appeared in my hand, and Beyonce had been given a whole side panel on the front page. So the front page is usually the lead story will take up this block. It will be a rectangle at the top, and then maybe the bottom of the page will be divided into 2 or 3 columns. So the bottom of this particular newspaper was divided into 2 columns, and Beyonce had one entire side at the bottom. So clearly something else was bigger news. And as I was reading that side panel, I stopped right there on the street, and it was about some scandal that she was involved in. So it was a breaking news scandal. And I read this entire story, and I cannot remember what the scandal was. So let that be understood. The Lord did not allow me to retain the knowledge of what it was that had happened. But the only thing is that as I was reading the scandal, the first thing that came into my mind was Michael Jackson. I immediately thought of Michael Jackson as I stood there on the street reading this newspaper in shock. And I said, wow, this is exactly what happened to Michael Jackson. And then the word scandal just rose up like this very big word in black letters in my heart. And it was also rising up the image of me standing there reading the newspaper. And God does that a lot. I'll have a picture and I'll be seeing myself, or I'll be seeing a picture, and then a word just comes and stamps on top of that image. And the word that came to me and also stamped on the picture of me reading this story was scandal. And then I woke up and I said, wow, oh, okay, Lord, I've seen it. I've seen the dream, and I'll remember it when it's time to wake up. But right now, it's too early to wake up, Lord. It's too early, please. I want to go back to sleep. And so I slept, but I had this same dream. Something happened concerning Beyonce, a huge scandal that was about her and something that she was doing behind the scenes. It was not her husband who made front page news. So please understand that it was not Jay-Z who ended up on the front page of the newspapers and who ended up trending on all the major news channels in the United States. It was her. And it seemed like as the scandal was unfolding that Jay-Z was mentioned, but he was only mentioned in passing. Whether he was directly involved or not, the viewer, including myself, wouldn't be able to tell because they weren't focusing on him. The person who was catching all the flack, the person who was having all the questions asked about her and everything else was Beyonce. It was her face that was on the newspapers. And in some pictures, some newspapers had put flattering photos of her. So she appeared in the news and she looked good. But then in others, the newspapers were not painting her in a good light. So, you know, sometimes these tabloids and other newspapers, they will wait until the celebrity is not looking that great. Maybe their face is full of donuts, or they've gained extra weight, or they're at an unflattering angle. And the paparazzi are merciless. They don't care. They have kids to feed. And so they will take unflattering pictures. And it was these awkward photos that some publications were using. And together with the kind of story the kind of scandal that had broken and the way the news was running like wildfire through the country, it was very difficult for this woman to maintain a good image to the public. Her public image was being battered because of the story, because of how many people were carrying it, because of how much chatter, and because there was no deflection with her husband in the story. All guns were on her. And so I was sitting in this second dream in a cafe. So I was sitting in a cafe and I was just having something to drink. And then a newspaper just appeared in my hand like that again. And once more, it was a half-page ad about Beyonce at the bottom column. And she was wearing so little in the second dream. She was wearing so little that I was mightily irritated, even as I was reading the story, because the picture they had used for her was a picture where she's in this signature black leotard where the back is not fully covering anything. And so her whole backside was out in this black leotard thing that she wears, I think, for shows. And she was wearing not longer hair as she does. She was wearing a short bob, which is odd to me, but maybe the people who follow her know better. Her hair was cut short, very crop, in a blonde crop. And so I don't know if the picture came from a show, but it was not flattering and it was very much getting on my nerves. And as I was reading the story, I was just thinking, why would you want the whole wide world to see you like this as you are fighting off a scandal? And I read the entire article, I read the whole story, and again, none of the details remained with me. But in this second dream, after I read it and I saw how she was clothed and how they just had her, you know, people always say, oh, this is a mother of children. Yes, but the mother of children is not asleep when she's choosing her wardrobe. So she can see her children and then she's still putting herself forward like that for you who consume it. So I was reading and then all I felt was, this is very bad. This is very bad. And then the image drew out a little bit and that big word scandal came up on the image of myself sitting there. And I woke up and I said, okay, Lord, I've seen it. I will remember when I wake up, but I think I still need to sleep. And so I slept again. And there I was back in Manhattan, walking down the street where we have these kiosks. You know, we have these newspaper kiosks and these guys are selling everything that you just need to save your life. They have soda there, they have water there, they have gum, they have coffee, they have sometimes gyros, they have so many things. And all of a sudden, I had a newspaper in my hip pocket and I just pulled the newspaper out from the hip pocket of my jeans, and there was Beyonce again on the front page, and this was being called a scandal as big as Michael Jackson. It was being equated to Michael Jackson. So a scandal as big as MJ, and I'm standing there now in front of the park, and I'm reading it, and every single person in the park has the newspaper and is reading the newspaper. Every single person in the park is reading the same newspaper as me, and I'm telling you, that park is as frozen till only the Tweety birds are making the most noise. Everywhere you looked, on the park benches, scattered all over on picnic blankets, people had their cooler boxes out, people had taken sandwiches out, but they were not eating. People had their sunglasses on their head, and they were reading like, you know, when people are scandalized and yet it's juicy and they actually don't care in their heart. And this is the hypocrisy of many fans. You will act as if you're cut to your soul, as if this person is your mother's third child that she never told you about. And you're so cut, but at the same time, you're the same ones who will put your camera on and eviscerate this person. Have you heard? Have you noticed? Did you know? Anyway, I'm not saying too much, but what do you guys think? And you populate gossip spaces, forgetting that gossip is a sin, and you will roast under the gaze of Jesus Christ when he begins to go through your rap sheet on the judgment day. But let's continue. People were sitting and they were scandalized. They were covering their mouths, sitting bolt upright, and they were making these shocked noises like their last relative just died. And so I'm standing there right on the street and I read the story again. And then in this dream, notice that the first dream, I thought to myself, what a scandal. This is the same thing that happened to Michael Jackson. That was what I retained from the first dream, and then scandal came. And then in the second dream, I'm wondering about why this woman doesn't wear much. Why does she present herself like this? And then also noticing that her husband is not picking up much flack. And then scandal comes up again. And then this third time, I'm standing outside a park and everyone is reading the same story. So whatever this is, it will be everywhere. It will literally be everywhere. Because in the city, that park is opposite. The park that I was at is opposite a lot of the business district. That's the park that I was near. And so in this dream, what occurred to me was, why are these people softballing this story? The other story that I read was not like this. So remember, the second story that I read was not flattering at all. They didn't put her in a flattering light. And some newspapers were making her look deliberately bad, while some newspapers were not. They had put good pictures of her. But in this story, I was irritated because now I was like, why are they softballing the story? To softball something is that you don't take it, you don't take the ball and throw it with all your might, with the exception of maybe getting the other person out, getting them to swing and miss. You give them an easy ball that's easy for them to hit, and it's indicative that you're not really playing the game seriously. So I was asking myself, why is this newspaper softballing the story? The other story that I read was not like this. This one is as weak as cheap tea. These people are definitely trying to control the narrative, and they're trying to be more sympathetic to this woman, because the other story that I read before was definitely not like this. And I checked the front of the newspaper, and it was the New York Times, of course. And I was like, well, of course, typical. We should be glad that the New York Times is even covering this stuff. And that's because the New York Times is bought and sold to certain types of agendas, usually liberal agendas. No matter what they're reporting, they will always report it as trying to be so objective when they fail in that. And so it was a weak and a very heavily partial article. It's a kind of article that will definitely cover the basis of journalism, right? It will print the major facts, but then it tries to muddy what the audience will think. It tries to muddy up the crime, and it tries to water down the article using language like this. So someone is involved in a scandal. It's a big scandal. It's something that will evoke people's minds to Michael Jackson. But then this is how you write it. 500-time Grammy winner, world famous music record breaker, Beyonce, has been hinted at maybe being part of ABC questionable activity. We're covering this story. And what story are you covering when you have shown every spotlight of the Statue of Liberty on a person? How can we take you seriously that you're actually going to bring us the facts objectively in a way that we can make up our own mind about what's going on? And so I'm looking at this third newspaper with a confused face, and all my spirit was saying, my mind is asking me, why are they lying? Why are they trying to be her lawyer in this piece instead of correctly reporting the news? The first two papers that I read were still papers, but they were papers like the Washington Post that at least will make an effort to tell the story and give the reader the details. But other papers out there, like Entertainment Weekly and People, they were just going for broke. And the image that came up is, you know, when you just give a horse its head and just say, okay, horsey, just go. And, you know, they were running with this story. And TV wasn't the same. TV was the same. So I wasn't watching TV in this dream, but spiritually I could see the TV. It was like I was seeing the TV, even though I'm standing there in the park. And I could see all the reporters on the liberal channels were toning down and softballing the story. They were trying to make it as low impact as possible. And the way they were doing it was looking at each other all concerned, like, what do you think this could be about, Mac? I'm not sure, Fanetta, but, you know, we're going to get deeper into the story. That's what they were doing. So they were all concerned like it was some unfortunate grandma who got caught doing something that might be a little bit questionable, instead of the biggest female entertainer in the world being linked to some kind of breaking scandal in the United States. And I didn't wake up from this third dream. I went immediately into a fourth dream. In this dream, I pulled a newspaper from my hip pocket again, and I read it. And I frowned and I said, Lord, what's going on here? Who is suppressing this news? I didn't know why, but I could tell spiritually, I could sense that the full truth was not coming out about this matter, but enough of it had leaked so that it was a scandal that Beyonce could even be mentioned. She could even be mentioned in relation to such a matter, to such a thing. The full scandal had not come out, but enough details had come out where you could go to print with the story and not get sued. So I was questioning the Lord and I was saying, Lord, what's going on here? The full matter has not come out. The full truth has not come out. Who's suppressing this? Who's behind keeping a lid on this news? However, because this news was in print, please listen, groupies, because enough of this news was there to cause a scandal to hit the press, I felt sure that now truth could enter Christian circles and would be enough to turn people back to Christ. That's what I said in this fourth dream. I said, it's in the paper now. That's what I was thinking. I said, they said it wasn't true. So whatever this is, it will be something that you've been told about Beyonce Knowles. It will be something that it's not brand new. You've heard it. It's been floating around. It's been circling around like a dark circle around the sun. And you have heard it. And you've said it can never be. And now the never be-ness had reached the paper. They said it wasn't true, but now look, it's hard to deny because even print media has picked up the story. And we all know that print media, right? A lot of you feel that the standard of care is the prophecy isn't good enough. It has to be in the paper. You always say, where's the proof? So when the paper picks it up, when the TV picks it up, then to you now it becomes real prophecy. But true Christians know that once it leaves the mouth of God, in fact, once he determines it in his heart, it's already a done deal. So I was saying it's hard to deny now because the print media makes it official. But oh my goodness, what a lie. I was lying to myself. People on social media went ballistic with the extent of their mental illness and their rage and their willingness to defend Beyonce. It was like hearing the news and seeing it go official, instead of causing them to pause and think and say, what kind of person is it that I'm following, and just blindly defending like this. Hearing the news pick up this story triggered these people to become greater experts at denying reality than ever before. It was incredible. And I literally said, no way. I said, God, no way is this the response to this breaking news story, that these people are denying even harder and exhibiting so much instability at this woman being accused of this. This is what people said. They said, why is the media lying on her like that? Why is the media saying these things about her? Why didn't they research this story before making it public? Why isn't Jay-Z getting blamed for this? Why is he not on the front page instead of her? Because everybody knows he's the one who really did this and not her. She couldn't have done it. People were having breakdowns like it's not possible. They wanted the entire story, the entire crime, the allegations, the existing news reports, and the actual journalism, the evidence, and everything that had gone into breaking this story. People wanted this stuff to go away and disappear so that they could continue in their delusional fantasy of following Beyonce, the perfect woman who only does perfect things. And I said, in this dream, I said, Lord, this is not possible. There is no way that this can ever be the result of people seeing actual facts and truth about this woman. Lord, no way. So just like people were insisting that the journalists should go away, the news report should go away, the TV should evaporate, they should go after Jay-Z. If they have to keep the journalism, if they have to keep the evidence, if the story has to break, they should go after Jay-Z. They should not go after Beyonce, not the queen. She would never. Is the same way I was insisting to God. And I was saying, absolutely not, Father. There's no way that this is a real life response to facts and truth coming out about this woman. And I saw myself saying, do you see it now? Do you see what God was saying about Beyonce? Do you see it? Can you finally accept that what God said about her was true? The proof is finally in your faces. People turned on me. They told me, so what? You are so wicked and you just hate her. That's what you wanted to happen to her. That's why it's happened to her. Please listen, because this is next level, not on the planet Ness that I'm describing to you here. People on earth today were saying to me, as a result of this scandal breaking and me asking them, as I have every right to defend God's honor, who told them these things. Since 2022, I've been bringing out these prophecies. There's up to 6 prophecies about Beyonce Knowles, and they only have one response. You are a liar. You are jealous of her. You hate her. You don't even know her. The queen will continue. She will never lose her life. God loves her too. She will have a second chance. Maybe she's sorry. And the old faithful, it's Jay-Z who does everything to her. It's not her. You don't know her. So I asked people, can you see what God is saying? Because God is right, and God will be proven right about every name on this channel. You live long enough, you will see the Master's Voice prophecies coming to pass, not here, but on TV. I was asking them, you have proof now. It's out now. You wanted it to see, and now the biggest papers and news companies in the country are carrying the story. And I was told, so what? So what means we don't care about what we see. So what? Yes, we can see it. It's on all our phones. So what? It means proof is immaterial to a certain group out there. The next thing I was told, you are wicked. So speaking the truth of God, to turn away from idolatry, from following people who are leading your footsteps to hell, that was called wickedness. Woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who say that light is dark and dark is light. They said, you, Celestial, are wicked. You just hate her. And that's what you wanted to happen to her. So that's what had happened. So basically, sitting here in this little apartment in Brooklyn, I have the power to just say, I want this to happen, and then it will happen. This is the mindset of the people that were responding to me. I was 100% amazed at this reaction that they were having, and I didn't take it quietly. I said, what? I told you the information. The information was not being seen. It was not visible at the time that I told you, but I told you the information by the Spirit of God. You called it a lie, and you said it was a lie because there was no proof, nothing to see. But now the information has been uncovered, and not by me. The information has proof. The information has real voices saying things about what I told you. The information has relevance, meaning that it directly connects to what I told you. It's not just something in the sky. I said the information is on TV and the information is in the newspaper, which means that the prophecy is starting to come true. So how can you call it a lie? Are you so deceived that instead of repenting and asking God to have mercy on you for calling his messages a lie as you did in the past and for worshiping this woman, you're doubling down in the sin? You're doubling down and saying, so what if it's happening? So what if it's true? You're saying that even if a prophecy happens, it's so what? Instead of using it as a benchmark to say, okay, it ends here. I've got to stop somewhere, and I think that I'll stop here. I've got to think about myself now because I can see it's going too far. I can see that all this stuff being exposed means that God isn't playing with us anymore. God is touching this woman, Beyonce, and not in a nice way. I don't want him to touch me next. So no, this is as far as I go with Beyonce or anyone. I'm stopping here. Remember, I'm dreaming and I'm seeing in the 4th dream that with the evidence I came to say, so what do we have to say now? The prophecy was a lie because there was nothing there, right? That's what you said. And now there's plenty there. The table is being set, and at least they put some finger food called The Truth About Beyonce Knowles on the table. And people were saying, so what? You're a hateful woman. It's your wickedness that made this happen. This is happening to her because of you. You out there, listen and be the judge. to this mindset and tell me that 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 and verses 9, 10, 11, and 12 are not real. Tell me that those 4 verses are not real and that they do not apply to millions of people alive on this planet today. People who hate the truth and they love the lie and they are willing to perish by that lie. And the Bible says that they will die because they hated the truth that could have saved them. And because of their hatred for truth, God will send a strong delusion into them. Do you know what it is when delusion gets a hold of you? Do you think you will get away from that spirit easily? Do you not know that delusion is the same spirit that has these gay boys putting their semen in their own mother's belly so that she can have a child for them because 2 gay guys cannot make a baby, but they don't want that to stop them. Mom is now carrying a child that is grandchild and also sibling or something like that. So instead of people saying when they saw the prophecy, you know what? The things this woman said, we might have fought them, but now we can see them coming to pass. And we can see that God is behind this. God is behind the exposure. God is touching Beyonce. We need to stop. No, it was not like that at all. Big fat capital no. People were blaming the media. They were blaming the media. They were saying, why is the media hounding Beyonce? Why are they going after her? They were blaming the media for sloppy and poor reporting. You guys didn't get your facts together. If you dig, you will find that it was somebody else. It was not her. They were saying to the media, why are you guys saying all this stuff just based on rumors? Why do you hate her? There was a lot of that use of that word hate. Why is the media damaging her reputation like that without asking the proper questions or even giving her a chance to respond? So Beyonce was mute, completely mute when this scandal was breaking. And they were saying, why doesn't the media give her a chance to respond? They were saying, why isn't her husband to blame? Why isn't the media going after Jay-Z? Why aren't the TV people going after Jay-Z? Don't they know that he's the wicked one? He's the one who's forcing her to do all this. And of course, they did not leave me out. It's you that did this, Celestial. This is me and my great powers here at home. It's you that did this. You hate her. And that's why this is affecting her. It's you and your bad energy that brought this on her. She's innocent. And just because it's happening, I wish I could do the way that they were doing, but I'm just not going to bring myself down to that level. But if you've ever seen these children with the blue hair, or you can see that these children are cut inside, on the inside. They've left the planet of normalcy and they're now moving in a world where female chickens that lay eggs can also be roosters. And if you've ever seen these children in interaction, if you've seen these young people, even older people, 20s, 30s, they scream a lot. They go, they scream a lot. And that's what people were doing. It's you that did this. You hate her. This is why this is affecting her. It's you and your bad energy. She's innocent. And just because it's happening, like you said, doesn't mean anything. Like that. Exactly like that. Even in the dream. Just like that. Just because it's happening to her exactly the way you said, it doesn't mean anything. And I woke up and I knew in my heart that God is going to deal with Beyonce. He's going to deal with her specifically. And it was impressed upon me that it's her God is angry with first. For the way that she substitutes herself in the hearts of not only God's people. So this is not only the church that is hell-bent. And that's a perfect description. Bent on going to hell, following someone who is going there herself. 10 toes down that where the queen goes, they're going to. And what a bold, bold decision this is. You have to be locked in. And a lot of people are thinking like this unconsciously. They will deny, I'm not going to hell for her. I just like her. You don't even know that you have a soul tie that you are in this late hour not equipped to break. You are not equipped to break this soul tie. So it's her that God is angry with first. It is her who has siphoned worship. To siphon literally means to make a little side channel. The picture of siphoning is when you have a car A and car A runs low on gas and there's no gas station nearby. Guys understand this. And then car B will say, well, I'll help you out, and park close enough. And then they get some little tubing, and they run it between one gas tank, and they do something. Men do something, and then the gas begins to go from the full tank to the empty tank. So if you're doing it with the other person's knowledge that they're giving you gas, then fine. It's just siphoning. But siphoning has a sneaky feeling around the word, because you're actually really stealing. You're robbing something from one to build up the other. And God says that Beyonce siphons worship from him. The full focus that people should have, the screaming that you should have, God is worth screaming for. God is worth clapping for and fainting for and crying for. The things that people should have towards, they don't have it, but they have it for Beyonce. The energy that you've never had for God in your entire life of claiming that you are saved, you have it for this woman. You would follow her to the surface of the sun if she was having a show there. And you would rob your entire family member to be able to pay for the ticket. And that says so much about you that it's you who will have to investigate your heart about what that means. God says that Beyonce siphons worship and adoration away from him, and she places herself in his place. Now her followers will go crazy and say, how does she do that? And the answer is, how do you know that she doesn't do that? Are you one of the muscles in her little heart to know what she thinks, what she does? Has God ever talked to you about who she is, what she thinks, what her motivations are? If not, why are you speaking? Let the people who talk to God speak and tell you what God has to say, and then you listen or reject it. And then your ending will be based on if you listened or rejected it. But at least listen. She has stolen God's place in millions of hearts. She is an idol to millions, and she does not even tell people not to worship her or not to be so manic about setting her on a pedestal. So I've spoken here many times about how human beings are consumed with the need to worship. We were built to worship. And if we don't have a clear understanding of what worship is and who it's to be directed to, we will erect our own gods 10 times out of 10. You just read the Bible and you'll see it. You leave people alone long enough and they're carving a tree or they're building a little Buddha. They have to have something. And the thing with people who don't want to grow in faith is the maturity of faith worships an unseen God. He is not seen, but his presence is all around. But when your faith is small, when it's weak, and you don't want to do the hard work of growing it, then you need a little something. That's why so many people I just need a little confirmation. And even Gideon, at the beginning of his faith, he needed to put the fleece in front of God. We need physical things. But mature people know that the best physical thing is the word of God. You go to that thing, and very soon the Holy Spirit will be connecting with you, building you up, helping you. You have some worship music going. You'll feel the peace of God come upon you. We don't worship a God that can be seen. That's his choice for now. The people who were lucky enough to see him, God bless them. They're gone now. And God told Thomas in his doubting that a better generation was coming, a blessed generation, a people, he said, who would worship me and they will believe without seeing me. And here we are, and we don't want to grow into the fulfillment of that prophecy. Some of us, millions of us, most of us, don't want to grow into it. So God says that Beyonce doesn't stop people from worshiping her. And as we go on, he says that she doesn't even stop people from setting her on a pedestal. So she'll never reprimand her fans. She'll never say, you guys be calm and things like that. And there's a reason for that. God says that Beyonce is not humble. She is using the worship and the adoration of people that comes out of them like a wave for dark magic and witchcraft. So the reason she doesn't put a stop to it is because these people who are in the occult, these people who are serving the Baphomet, those who have made their contract, not all of them, please, you've never heard me say that every musician has a contract, every actor has a contract. There's a price to pay to be big, big, big. And usually you can see it on their faces after a while. Sin don't hide. Sin does not hide. But God says that the reason this worship is necessary, this worship, this crying, all this stuff, Michael Jackson had this. That man was so deep in the occult. So deep in the occult, doing witchcraft and rituals to harvest energy off of people. And now in these last days, the musicians don't hide that they do it. You go to these places, all of you, and you come back. There was some kind of heavy darkness. What do you think it was? The joining of multiple colognes. Don't you know that demons were there with you, attaching to all of you that are there? You think it was only the song and the artist that was there? Plenty of passengers were there. And many of you who go to those places, you come away with a brand new crop of demons to add to the first group that took you there in the first place. And that is just free information. So God says that the worship and the adoration that comes out of people to Beyonce, she's using it for dark magic and witchcraft. He says that it's an energy that this woman is harvesting like a battery. And he called it the juice of the people. And again, when I think of juice, the only thing I can think of is a car that's run out of gas that needs jumper cables. I think men use that term. Let's juice it up. Or something like that, when they're fixing cars, fixing old engines. That's the first thing that came to my spirit when he was talking to me after I woke up and I was recording the 3-4 dreams that I had. He said she's using the juice of the people, their energy, like a battery for evil. And she's powering herself like a battery using the adorations of her fans. God says she is sapping many of them of their blessings and their continued wealth on this earth. What a shame. So you've just turned into a Chase Bank. You just turned into a what bank is there? A Wells Fargo ATM for someone. That person is siphoning off the grace of God from on you. You go to these concerts, you are in the presence of master craftsmen, witchcraft, occultists. They've performed so many rituals backstage, and you think you're having an experience, and you are literally in the mouth of hell with disco lights. And you're just thinking, how blessed am I to be here? And the wise ones go, and then they begin to hear and feel everything that I told them before they went there. And then they're having all these little regret episodes and talking about, I'm so sorry that I went. Well, tell God sorry and repent unto the Lord, because it is him that you disobeyed, and still go to these shows. And millions will still go because they will not agree with anything as you heard. And so she's powering herself. But remember, I told you that God says this woman's time is very short. All the rituals, all the sacrifices, Satan is a horrible taskmaster, and he never lets anyone off the hook. And what the Lord has told me is that these jump starts, right? These things, they're not working anymore. He's saying that they're having to do more and more and more backstage, out of sight. They're having to do more and more behind the scenes, not even at the shows, to power this woman back up to life. Why? Because Satan can only offer you so much. Even stealing energy and spiritual strength off of people can only do so much. When the Lord says it's done, it's done. The entire thing will start to power down. And what God says is that her virtue inside, this is actually not spiritual virtue. This is life itself, is being sapped out. That is being drained out as a result of all the wicked acts that she has participated in, consented in, and done. If Mr. Carter goes to hell, he will be going to hell for his own sins. And should any other hellies see his wife there, she is not there because anyone did her dirty. One goes to hell for one's own faults, one's own transgressions against Jesus Christ, one's own choices and sins. You cannot go to hell by mistake. You can be tempted there, you can be driven there, but there is a fail-safe that is even better than your computer or your phone asking, are you sure you want to reset? You know how many times they ask you if you want to reset before you can finally reset a phone? Hell is even more fail-safe than that. So, God says that idols will fall in America. None will be tolerated. No idol will stand at the same time. that Yah is standing. No idols will be left. The tall trees will fall down, and the Lord alone will be standing in power at the end of it all. Thus saith the Lord. And so you're hearing the Lord say something that I've been saying here for consistently for years now. America the proud will fall because America herself is a prize idol in the earth. But within her, my goodness, there are many, many gods. And people have taken these prophecies about Beyonce and they've twisted them and said, oh, she said the concert. I never told you. I don't keep up with the things that you keep up with. I never said that. And the thing is that all my prophecies are up. They never go anywhere. They are consistent and they're always up and neatly labeled so that all you have to do, if you are not a total abject liar, is to go and watch them and find out what I did say. I said that I saw this woman suspended in the heavens along with many other idols, T.D. Jakes, Benny Hinn, Joyce Meyer. Many of them were up there. And I said that the Lord grew frustrated with the presence of what we call luminaries, stars, elevated people. He grew frustrated with their presence in the high heavens. Man doesn't belong there. Notice that none of us even live in the trees. Our place is down here. We're down here as a sign to stay humble. But they had risen due to worship, adoration of people. They had risen above their station. And the Lord gave a sharp command. And I said that I saw the angels come and start pushing them out of heaven. And one of the people who was pushed was T.D. Jakes, and he fell and he had a shattering end. That is exactly the words of the prophecy. And I said that I saw that Beyonce was pushed from up there. And when she fell on her neck at a sharp angle and she broke herself. She had a breaking fall. That is what I said. I said that this woman is deep in witchcraft. She is a sorceress of extreme power. She is a temptress, meaning that she carries powerful demons of lust, which is why the women have become Jezebelites and vixens following her. It's a spirit that transfers, that takes the good girlness off you and turns you into a harlot. And you can argue all you want that you don't have the harlot spirit. But once you start to see the same manifestations of actions, affectations, appetites, presentations, the same likes and desires, what do you think you are doing? You are just merely a reflection of what you've picked up with her, whether you like it or not. So the prophecies are very clear. I said that God says this woman's destruction will be greater than Michael Jackson's destruction. And Michael Jackson's destruction, it stopped everything but the sun. It stopped the whole world. You didn't need to speak English to know that the king was dead. So they said. And when the queen dies, it will be the same. Her death, God says, will be bigger than Michael Jackson. It will be bigger than Elvis. So why are you angry? How is it wicked to speak what God is saying? When Moses went to Pharaoh and said what happened, then what? Pharaoh was angry, yes, but we know how he ended. Pharaoh was hard-hearted. Pharaoh was hearing prophecy and Pharaoh was being given every opportunity and he simply kept crossing the line. Many of you keep crossing the line because you don't know that you have the same spirit of rebellion that Beyonce has. What makes you think that God comes to public judgment of an international figure without having spoken to that person in their dreams and in their so-called fake prayer time that they claim they're having? I'm a church girl. Real church girls know themselves and they don't plug their menses with pages from the holy book. Who are we lying to here in these last days? Why are you so resistant to the truth of God? Why must you lie yourself into an early grave or into some graphic punishment that will have you crying? Why do you have to be dragged into righteousness? Only people out there know, whoever this is for. No one can claim to reflect Jesus Christ and not look like him. It doesn't matter if you are working in the midst of any industry that may not look godly. God can put a person into industries, into places where it's not godly, and you will see the light of the gospel shining. You will see the fruit of that person's harvest coming in. Unsaved people need examples too. Don't you know that? Unsaved people need the salt to be there too. Every soul, every creature, he said, go out and preach the gospel. You can't preach the gospel to people in Hollywood from wherever you are. God has people there. God will send more people there. He will link more people to those people to witness to them so that if they reject it, there will be no excuse. when they are judged. He will say, did you not marry a Christian girl? Was your husband, was your makeup artist not constantly sharing Bible verses with you? You constantly were looking at her Instagram, and every time you looked at her Instagram, you felt something, and you fought that something and suppressed it and went to more mansion parties. So what further compassion and mercy do you want to have? Do you want me, Yah, to have on the decisions that you made? This woman has been given every opportunity, and the bigger you are, the longer God bears with you. But the thing is that when you start to lead millions into the mouth of Satan, millions into this Orisha, why do you have altars in your home? What is wrong with you? The people who actually know about ancestral worship and know about mermaid worship, water worship, they are sprinting out of that thing. They are 100% this Nigerian worship. They are rejecting every corner of it and running into the arms of Jesus. And it's the American girl sprinting into the mouth of something with 8 octopus arms under the sea, talking about this and that and whoever. Is this not the upside downness of the end times? If you lose your seat in the kingdom of God, rest assured that you never had one to begin with. You were only keeping it warm for the true children to show up. And so that is where I'm going to leave this prophecy. The title of this message is Beyonce Will Fall, March the 4th, 2024. And I prophesy here in the hearing of all listening that a scandal is going to break concerning Beyonce Knowles. Her husband may or may not be tangential to the story, he may be mentioned, he may be not, but the guns will be trained on her. The heat lamps will be on her. The targets, the laser will be on her back as this scandal is breaking. And it will be everywhere, trending in the news, with some people giving us the full story, some people doing proper investigative journalism, and other people doing unpaid lawyer work for her, softballing the story, trying to make it seem like it's not as important as it is. It's going to be about some important major topic here that is going to be reminiscent of the fallen pop idol, Michael Jackson. When you hear whatever this scandal is, Michael Jackson's story and whatever it is that he might have been accused of will also come to mind. And when the Christian community is confronted with the breaking of this scandal, many, many millions and thousands of them will refuse to listen. The demons controlling them, the covenant, the initiation that they've come under with Beyonce will make them as stubborn and hard-hearted as Pharaoh. They will hurl accusations. They will blame everybody except the person who is at the center of the story. And always remember that the great falling away is happening. The separation is happening. Light and dark is happening. The fake pastors, you see them acting up in these churches. Know that they're showing you that they are goats on stage. Baphomet's boys. The Illuminati paid demons who are here to lead fools into perdition. And they shall have their portion. 2 Peter 1-3 say so. The false prophets are going to have an audience, and God says that for that audience they take into hell, their judgment will not tarry. Matthew 24, Jesus said that false Christs and false prophets will arise. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verses 9, 10, 11, 12. There have to be people who are deceived by the devil's conversation, by the devil's deceivable acts, lying wonders. That category must exist. The reason people like me are here is to ask you, what box are you ticking? How are you filling the form? And who are you going to go with? I am Celestial, and this is the Master's Voice. The Master's Voice is available on many platforms, so you are free to choose where you're going to listen, where you're going to hear the word of the Lord, and where you're going to turn your feet from evil and start to follow truth. Not me. Truth is Christ Jesus in all his majestic splendor. And so I say thank you to all of you who support the channel. Thank you to all of you who are a blessing to this channel. I thank you for your gifts. May the Lord bless you and return it to you in multiples. And since I don't often bring this up, I just want to say again please don't send me anything on Cash App, okay? I'm not really using that platform. It's under many of my old videos, yes, but it's not in use. So can you please just do that? And also, if you're using PayPal, please remember you're not under any duress. If you're out of the country, please don't use it. Please look under my videos always, and the instructions are there. Everything has to be done rightly and in order. I'm thankful for you, and I do pray for you, but I just ask you not to make things difficult for me, please. Always look under the video. You'll find the blurbs there. You'll find all the links there. If the prophecy's written, it will direct you back to the blog. And you'll also find how to do the giving properly so that PayPal captures a lot of what you guys sent from outside the country. I never see it. And I just think that you should know that so that you can know that if you're trying to send the PayPal people's kids to school, then you're doing a better job than you might want to. Another thing I have to warn you about is scammers. People are creating. This is part of why I didn't want to bring out my new logo and my new branding that was made for me. It was made for me all the way last year in November, but I hesitated to bring it out simply because the minute anything touches the internet, these scammers are going to just upgrade their game. So they're already contacting people and telling them, send money to an orphanage. Don't do it. I can't be here in New York City and running orphanages in Nigeria. Don't do it. The email to use is just underneath the video. Look at the email carefully and don't write whatever you want to write before you end up funding the mob. They have already made false emails that look like my emails. Be careful, be wise. Just take 2 minutes longer and think about what you're thinking about, please. So, God bless you, and thank you for being here with me, Celestial. This is the Master's Voice. And until I see you again, goodbye.